like the Jags win this game, but I mean, crazier things have happened in the NFL tank. Who do you think takes the crown of the AFC South?
See, this one's tricky because I understand where your spidey senses are coming from. Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars have been playing amazing ball for the past 3-4
Yeah.
weeks, something like that. Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in the AFC South. Travis Etienne looks like that dude at running back. We've already talked about over the past couple of weeks how the Jacksonville Jaguars have like an abundance of weapons on the outside. What are you talking about? Christian Kirk, Zay Jones. You have Evan Ingram at tight end, who's been balling out. And so when you look at it from that perspective of Jacksonville's offense, like, damn, like Tennessee has their hands full. That being said, the Titans set out a bunch of cats against the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday Night Football, and it felt like a game where the Dallas Cowboys should have rolled them boys over. Yet and still, we were entering the fourth quarter, and the score was 17-13. Like the Titans defense stepped up. They were able to turn over Dak. They were able to make plays, and they were able to give Josh Dobbs a chance. Josh Dobbs, he's going to be the guy over Malik Willis again this week, starting at quarterback for the Tennessee Titans against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so that defense stood up, and they kind of balled out, and they kept Tennessee in that game. And I think the Dallas Cowboys, even though they let Tennessee hang around, they're the better team than the Jacksonville Jaguars, even though the Jaguars beat them. But I still feel like the Dallas Cowboys are a better team. And so when Tennessee goes in there against a familiar opponent, they're a wounded dog. No one's expecting anything from them. Derrick Henry will be back for this one. Derrick Henry is the Jacksonville Jaguars' kryptonite. So with all those factors playing in, like honestly, for me, this is a game that I don't want to touch just because of the familiarity between these two teams, and I can see it playing out in a number of ways. I feel like Jacksonville should win this game, but would you really be surprised if the Tennessee Titans said that, hey, we're just going to lean on Derrick Henry, give him the ball damn near every snap, and then he runs for like 200-something yards. The defense steps up. They wreak havoc on Trevor Lawrence. Jeffrey Simmons is a monster, causes like a fumble. They throw a couple interceptions to Kevin Byard, and Tennessee walks away with an ugly win. Like, you can see that narrative playing out. And so since I can see that, this is probably a don't touch for me.
Yeah, this one's, it almost seems too easy to lay the points with the Jags because the Titans are 0-5-1 ATS during the 6-game skid. They haven't covered since November 17th, which is pretty crazy. The Jags are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 games. Jared, doesn't this just seem a little too easy? Similar to what people thought last week about taking the points with the Vikings?
The Vikings, nothing is ever easy with the Vikings.
It's true.
So this is like a classic rest versus rust, right? Like, you know, you've had the Titans that are kind of been playing, you know, bad football for the last month and a half, and they basically sat everybody last week. And the Jaguars, listen, I didn't expect them to come into Houston and give us their best stuff. That was their best stuff. And I'll be honest, maybe Doug Peterson saved some of that for next week, right? I mean, they went into Houston and just absolutely sliced and diced the Texans. Part of that, of course, Houston isn't that good. But I was surprised to see the aggression, and pretty much Trevor Lawrence, that offense was humming on all cylinders. Houston gave up some points on the offensive end too with some turnovers, but it was not a pretty performance for the Texans. But I think you have to give a lot of credit to how well Jacksonville played. And the Jags are about as strong of a 500 team as you're going to get. They're a plus 50 on the point differential this year. And that's ahead of teams like the Ravens, the Patriots, the Lions, Chargers, Seahawks, Packers, obviously the Vikings, who are, you know, a negative point differential as a 12-win team. But I think it's fair to say outside of the Big Six, which is 3-3 on each side, Bills, Bengals, Chiefs, AFC, Cowboys, Eagles, Niners, NFC, I think it's fair to put the Jags in that next tier as like the 7th or 8th best team in the league. The irony is I think the Chargers are kind of in that tier too. We're going to probably get Chargers, Jags in the first round of the playoffs. So that'll sort itself out really nicely if Jacksonville does indeed win this week. I don't really know what to make of Josh Dobbs. 4 turnover-worthy plays last week, bottom 5 in efficiency, negative 10% CPO. I mean, he played bad. But what's the bar for him? Because Malik Willis is first, and I don't know what the bar is. I think Derrick Henry has a chance to cause some damage here. You know, he had 7 yards per carry against the Jags in the first game, but he fumbled twice. The offense had 4 turnovers in that game. They lost it by 2 scores. They gave up 36 points. The Jags defense hasn't been good this year, but they're much better against the run than the pass. They're 29th in DVOA against the pass, 12th against the run. I mean, that's like styles make fights. Tennessee is not going to make Jacksonville pay for having a really porous secondary, and they're really good against the run. So I don't really think the matchup favors Tennessee much, and that's why the number is what it is. Trevor Lawrence, we got to give him his flowers, man. Last year, he was quarterback 31 out of 33 in the efficiency ratings. This year, he's 10th in that same category. Massive improvement year over year across the board. Doug Peterson, Evan Ingram, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, obviously all big reasons why. But give Trevor his due as well. The one final thing I'll say here, this is a very unfamiliar position for the Jags. They've only been a favorite 3 times all season. They are 1-2 straight up in those games. They lost outright as a field goal favorite to the Giants, and they also lost outright as a touchdown favorite to the Texans earlier this season. They, of course, beat the Texans as a favorite last week. So I don't know what to make of Jacksonville as this lofty of a favorite. I would not bet them at this price, but man, it's tough to see Tennessee really getting any sustained offense and being in this game. I do have some contract incentives in this game, which we'll get to later in the show, but from a betting perspective, side or total, I really don't have anything here that I like.